Hello, and welcome to Dark Souls. For PC, naturally. This is the painted world of Ariamis. It's beautiful, as you can tell. A little snowy. And as long as you ignore all the impaled corpses and giant crow demons, it's alright. So I'm gonna make my way through this place a little bit and start talking about the game. Dark Souls, Dark Souls. Well, this has been a video I've wanted to do for a while. I've waited until a few certain updates have come through and some stability improvements for the DSFix and a couple other things. And now I feel like it's finally time. Commentating this while playing is probably going to be almost impossible, and I'm probably going to die about 1,000 times, but that's not much different from playing the game normally anyway. So what is Dark Souls exactly? Dark Souls is an RPG, an action RPG, third person, clearly, in the vein of Demon Souls, very close to Demon Souls actually. Demon Souls was a PS3 exclusive game, unfortunately. That was an excellent game. I remember the very first time I beat that game, I was extremely happy. I felt like I'd conquered the world. Dark Souls is not necessarily a sequel as much as like just a spiritual sequel. It doesn't take place in the same world as far as I can tell. The lore, the world of the Souls games has always interested me a lot because of the way they are, watch out, the way they are extremely different. You have to figure a lot of it out for yourself. And in that regard, and in the loneliness and kind of depression regard, it reminds me a lot of one of my favorite games of all time, that being Shadow of the Colossus. You're exploring this ancient world, finding things that you're not quite sure what they're really for, and things like that. And a lot of that reminds me a lot of Shadow of the Colossus, which is a good thing, because that game is, like I said, one of my favorite games of all time, for very good reason. Now, Demon Souls was PS3 exclusive, and a lot of people were not super happy about that because it was praised, because it was an excellent game. So, for Dark Souls, they decided to make it multi-platform. They put it on, oh yeah, they put it on both 360 and PS3. Now, us PC users were like, hey, PC, dogs, the home of hardcore gaming, we would love to play this. A lot of us have actually bought consoles to play those games. We loved them, bring it to PC. There was a huge petition, and eventually, they did. However, there was much controversy regarding their PC release, because, well, it was a really bad port. Yeah, it was a little too close to the console version. We had 30 FPS lock, we had internal rendering resolution of only up to 720p, we had, oh lord, we had very poor mouse and keyboard support, and a few other things. Now, we all appreciated the fact that they tried. And From Software, being a Japanese developer, a lot of Japanese developers, not all, definitely not all, but a lot of Japanese developers are very console-centric, because that's just how that country works. So, PC development was not their forte. Again, not all Japanese developers are like this. However, a significant number of them do not have a lot of PC experience. So, what everyone did is, they started fixing the game. Because again, home of hardcore gaming on the PC, we all really wanted this, and there's a huge following around both of these games because they're excellent. Now, it was a little strange at first. We had some mix-ups and some more controversy, mostly with Games for Windows Live because it's a terrible service. Games for Windows Live is quite awful, and unfortunately that's not something we can just take out via modding. It's still there, and let that be a caveat to anyone who wants to buy the game. Games for Windows Live sucks balls, but hey, hopefully Dark Souls 2 won't have that. Now, eventually, it came to a point where the port was actually fixed quite a bit. I'm running what is called DSFix. DSFix is pretty much the most recommended fix for the game. It is #1 on pretty much all the mod lists. It is basically necessary to play this game, for all intents and purposes. what does DSFix do? It does a few things. At first, what it did is it fixes the internal rendering resolution. Now, what does that mean? That means that the game was stuck to rendering at only 720p maximum for the textures, which is console quality, which looked very, very bad on any system that you were running the resolution above 720p. Now, I'm running at 1920 by 1080, an egg vermifuge. So the textures looked very bad. It's like taking a picture at 720 and then stretching it to fit a 1080 screen without actually improving the quality at all. And it looks pretty awful. So that was fixed over time. Now, as you can see, the game actually doesn't look bad at all. It's not an ugly game, and the textures were there. They can be rendered above 720. They just didn't quite have the necessary skill to make that happen. So luckily that was fixed. Also, it fixed the horrid 30 FPS lock. So I'm playing at a nice smooth 60 FPS now, which is pretty much necessary for me. I hate playing at anything below, let's say 40-ish. It just starts to feel real choppy. That's mostly personal preference, but it does definitely come down to the fact that 30 FPS is pretty terrible, by all accounts. So, luckily that was fixed. It works just fine. There are a couple issues where sometimes if you slide down a ladder with 60 FPS on, you'll get stuck in the floor. That hasn't happened to me, but it does happen. Also, you'll want to turn it off. Just hit backspace, and it'll turn it off for a moment. Because sometimes, when you take a very long jump, the jump for some reason ends a little sooner than it should. I'm not sure why that is, really. It doesn't make a lot of sense to me. It's like an animation and a physics decoupling kind of thing. Oh, Lord! But essentially what we're working with here is a fixed game. Thank goodness. So let's talk about what the game really is. That was dumb. Oh, God. The game is a very hardcore RPG. Very hardcore, meaning it's incredibly difficult. Both Demon Souls and Dark Souls are extremely difficult games. They have an air of depression and sort of this oppressive dark atmosphere that's meant to beat you down until you finally beat a boss and progress a little bit, and then it kind of keeps you going with that little glimpse of, ow, hope. As you can tell, the games are pretty dark. Not just literally, but also, like, I mean, look at these things I'm fighting here. These Legion of Phalanx soldiers are pretty grotesque. You are an undead in this game, which is an interesting turn of events from a lot of games. The undead are usually the enemies, but in this case, well, you are an undead. A hollowed form you have here. You collect humanity and can restore balls. Balls, restore your human form if you want. And there are good and bad points to doing so. But let's not talk about the game's systems too much for now. Let's talk about the difficulty. Why is the game hard? Is the difficulty real? Well, yes, the game is hard because things do a lot of damage to you no matter what. Things can actually take quite a bit of punishment, but the main thing is it requires a lot of pattern recognition with things like boss battles. A lot of, not necessarily memorization of the levels, but a lot of, you know, it's not the cheap kind of difficulty. Usually when you die, you don't feel cheated. There are a couple of instances where you're like, ah, that was kind of cheap. But usually the game doesn't hand you cheap deaths and laugh at you. Usually when you die, it's for a very good reason, and you can figure out why, and you can prevent it. Essentially, this isn't the game for people that don't learn from their mistakes. You die for a reason. You go back and look at it, and you're like, okay, I died there, I gotta not do the same thing over and over again, because it will just keep killing me. And it will. If you want to progress, you gotta adapt to your deaths, and you will die a lot. There's no going past that. No matter how good of a player you are at any type of game, you will die. It's not a bad thing. Well, sort of. Everybody does it. Even the most skilled players die occasionally. So like I said, it doesn't tend to be a bunch of cheap deaths, like you had to have played the level before to know that was going to happen. It isn't something like that. For example, I've beaten several of the bosses on my first try, without any guides. That's not a brag of skill, that's just saying that you can learn If you just be patient and take your time in the battle, you can figure it out. Such as, let's say, the Belfry Gargoyles, the Iron Golem, the Gaping Dragon, and Chaos Witch Quelaag. All of those I actually beat on my first try. Because I was able to just stand back every now and then and take a look at their attacks and memorize the openings that their attacks give me and things like that. And that's what this game really comes down to. It comes down to being patient, waiting, and observing and learning from your mistakes. If you die doing something, don't just do it again, because you'll probably die again. Don't just think that you can not apply any kind of strategy. You have to, if you want to make it. So essentially what we're talking about here is a game whose difficulty comes from trial and error, comes from lots of very heavily damaging attacks, big bosses, very intimidating world. That's just how the game works. Bloodstain! When you die, you lose all of your souls and humanity that you're holding. If you go back and touch your bloodstain, you get them all back. But if you die again, on your way to the bloodstain, well, you're out of luck. I really don't want to be here. I'm going to die. I got stuck there in a bad place, and I died because of it. Yep. Let's go back there. So, like I said, I finally decided to do this because the version is mostly fixed. You can run it at 60 FPS, you can run it at 1080p, you can still play online just fine. There are even connection fixes to make it to where you can get invaded more often, and it's easier to summon people, and things like that. This sword, Quelaag's Fury Sword is amazing, by the way. Kellogg's Fury Sword! With extra fiber. So, if you really want a good comparison to Demon Souls here, there are lots. This game is extremely similar, and not in the fact that they didn't try to make it different, but in purposeful similarities. Like, say, the Belfry Gargoyle fight, where you get one down to half health and another one pops out. That's basically modeled exactly off the Man-Eater fight from Demon Souls. The bonfires are like archstones. They even have swords in them. The Nexus and the Firelink Shrine are very similar. In fact, the final area of the game is below the Nexus and below the Firelink Shrine. The whole dying and you become different, in this case, hollowed form instead of a soul form. It's, you know, Demon Souls. Snuggly the Crow, just like Shiny the Crow from Demon Souls, etc. There are tons of similarities. Kind of like Bioshock 1 and Bioshock Infinite. It isn't similarities as in they didn't try to differentiate the games. It's purposeful similarities like look at what we did, we're, you know, harkening back. Now, like I said before, the lore of these games is extremely interesting to me. Because of all of the things that they do. It's not explained to you a lot. The lore, for the most part, is not actually told to you. You can get little references to stuff here and there. But for the most part, there isn't going to be an NPC with a storybook telling you what this world is all about. You have to figure a lot of it out yourself. For instance, going through this place, the Painted World is a painting, yes, I'm in a painting, in a place called Enerlando, which is the city of the gods. Now, after looking through this place and seeing what I could find here, kind of figuring it out, I've come to the conclusion that essentially what this place is a vault for the gods, to hide all of the things that could be used to hurt them. Essentially. If you really look at it, that's exactly what it is. You find the Dark Ember here, which is used to make occult weapons, which hurt the gods more than any other kind of weapon. You find Crossbreed Priscilla here, which is an abomination with the ability of Life Hunt. Again, an ability that has to do with the power to destroy and injure the gods. Hurry, 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 hurry! Oh! Jeez, couldn't dodge in time. But yeah, you have all kinds of stuff like that. This place, you know, and no one told me that's what this is. You come to that conclusion after exploring for a minute. This place, what it obviously is sort of like a regalia for the gods. It is a lock-up vault for them to keep all of this stuff that can be used to harm them locked away. I mean, it has guardians that are essentially like elite assassins and things like that. People aren't meant to come here. So just through exploring and through observing the world, you figure out that that's exactly what this place is. And that's really cool because I'm really into that. I'm a huge lore nerd, and the lore of this game is absolutely fantastic. And the main reason for that, I've got to say, is the fact that a lot of it isn't directly told to you, and the parts that are told to you are not... Oh lord, they're kind of vague. Like, for instance, the furtive pygmy is a character in the game that you don't know a lot about. You kind of figure out, if you read into a little more than what they tell you, that he was essentially the precursor to all of humanity, and things like that. Dodge, dodge, dodge. No! No! Whew. Alrighty then. Nice. I can make it to the boss now, but I believe I have enough souls to level up once, and I'd kind of like to go back and do that really quick, because if I die from the boss, I'm going to lose all these souls. When you go back to a bonfire, all the enemies respawn, but I'm hoping that Great Knight there, or Heavy Knight, doesn't respawn, because a lot of times they don't. There are some that do and some that don't, so I'm just going to test my luck here and hope that he doesn't, even though he probably will. So what you're seeing here is exactly what the game will entail. It's going through these areas a lot of times multiple times, because you'll die several times on your way through. Eventually, finding your way to a bonfire, hopefully, which will basically act as a checkpoint, because obviously, as you've seen, when you die, you revive at a bonfire. And going through all these areas, the game is not linear per se. You can go to the areas in different orders, especially if you have the master key, but I wouldn't recommend that for a new player, because even though the leveling system isn't quite normal, you won't encounter level 80 enemies versus level 10 enemies. It's just that some areas are a lot harder than others. For instance, a lot of players go back to the catacombs on their first playthrough. They go back through Firelink Shrine back like south and end up in the catacombs, or the graveyard at least, which is a very bad place because those skeletons will kill you in about 2 hits when you first start the game. Very, very skilled players could make it through there in some ways. You know, you get the idea. Level up. Yeah. The leveling system basically involves just spending souls to increase your stats. Stats give you all kinds of things. What I really would like to do, I think, is either increase my... Well, endurance would be nice, because more carry weight. Keep your carry weight low, a low percentage of your total, and you can roll faster. I think I'm going to increase my vitality to 25. Let's do that. Yep. Okay, and let's hope that Heavy Knight did not respawn. Wait, actually, I'm going to change... Well, no, I'm going to keep that. Never mind. Whatever. Alright. Yeah, so souls are the currency. Souls is obviously what you get from killing things, and you spend them on everything. So you got to be careful. You spend them on leveling up, you spend them on upgrading your equipment, you spend them on buying new equipment and items and things like that. Everything costs souls, which means you've got to be careful on how exactly you're spending them. One thing I think I'd like to do is maybe grab a few humanity, because this sword is improved through humanity. That little 00 next to my health bar up there is the amount of humanity I have total, and I'm holding 11 humanity that I can actually spend, which isn't a lot. Do I have any double humanities? No. I do have a bunch of souls I can nom, though. Alright, I'm not gonna do that. I'm not gonna do that. Oh, actually, yeah, what the heck. I'll eat 1 humanity, upgrade my sword's power a little bit, but not a lot to where if I die and lose it, that I'll be really feeling it. Okay. So the boss of this area is Crossbreed Priscilla, the abomination with the ability of Life Hunt. She has a scythe, the Life Hunt scythe. Causes heavy bleeding damage, and I want it. When you kill bosses, a la Demon Souls, you get their souls. You can go to a blacksmith and use these souls in conjunction with certain items in order to... Ah, crap, that knight does respawn. That sucks. Ow. arsenal in order to basically reforge the boss's weapons. In this case, you need a halberd type weapon upgraded to +10 and the soul of Priscilla. I do have a halberd +10. All I need is her soul. However, I'm guessing she's not going to be an easy boss fight because, well, ow, she's a boss fight. There pretty much aren't very many boss fights in these games that I would consider easy. That's just how they work. Now, I'm taking way too much damage. I want to keep most of my Estus flasks for the boss, because as you can see, I only have 10 charges. They only come back after killing a boss. Alright. Or after going to a bonfire, rather. Alright, so I've got to kill this guy again. I guess I could just run past him and go into the fog gate, because before bosses is always a large fog gate or white light gate that enemies can't pass. I might do that, actually. There's not really a huge point in me fighting him right now, and I don't want to be using my flasks. So I'm just gonna run like a pansy. You gotta learn how to pick your fights, man. Pick your fights. I guess I could try to push him off, but that'd be silly. Alright, traverse the white light. Whoa! Oh wow, she is very intimidating. Oh my. Oh dear. This game has awesome music, by the way. The soundtrack is great. Again, a feeling of odd mysterium and depression and a dark, heavy atmosphere. Whew. Hello there, crossbreed Priscilla.
Who art thou? One of us thou art not.
Correct.
If thou hast misstepped into this world, plunge down from the plank and hurry home. If thou seekest I, thine desires shall be requited not.
Oh my. So in other words, she just wants me to go away.
Thou must returneth whence thou came. This land is peaceful, its inhabitants kind, but thou dost not belong.
Bullshit!
I beg of thee, plunge down from the plank.
I died like a million times in this place.
Thou must returneth whence
Alright. The inhabitants are not kind, thank you very freaking much. You know what, I'm actually kind of sad, because she's somewhat an interesting character. And she basically just wants me to go, and if I just go to that area behind her without attacking her, then I can just leave this place. But honestly, I really want that soul. So in other words, I get one free shot on her. Here we go.
I expected as much from thee. Why
Alright. What? Wait, what? Did she teleport away, or is she invisible? She's invisible! Those are footprints! Oh god. Wow, this is not so good for me. Alright. Gotta be careful of the bleeding effect. There she is. She's right there. Alright. That didn't do anything, did it? Okay. Oh, crap. This is frustrating, but interesting. Alright, there she is. She's right there. Right there. Oh, crap. And I get hit with the bleeding effect. That does quite a bit of damage. She's not there anymore, genius. Whoa! This is a problem. Because I can't tell which way she's facing or even where she is. Oh dear. Oh dear. That I was not expected. This is a problem. Alright, there she is. Okay, there she is. The fiery effect of the sword is a little handy because I can at least kind of tell. Oh dear. Hold up my shield and run, run, run. I don't know where she is. There. You see how interesting of a boss fight this is? I mean, this is, you know, this is weird. This is very strange. but I like it. Alright, there she is. Thank goodness. Good lord, she's a very large boss. Not the biggest of the bosses. Alright, she actually takes a fair amount of damage from the sword, which is nice. Get her! I know I can get her dagger if I cut off her tail, but that's not really a priority right now. Surviving is more the priority. I definitely like that dagger. Oh lord, I'm gonna get the bleeding effect, I think. Watch out! Whew. I barely have enough stamina to actually block her blows. I don't even care about getting that dagger right now. I just want to beat you. The dagger is cool, but... she's got a very small tail, so that would be actually a pretty difficult thing to do, wouldn't it? Especially if you can't hit her. That makes things a little harder. Hit her tail! Hit her! Hit her tail! I'm not gonna get it. I could just die and retry it, but I'm not that interested in getting the dagger, honestly. I want it, but not that much. Yeah! Whew! I'm sorry, Priscilla, you're really cool, but I really wanted your soul. Alright then. So that settles that. I guess that's this place completed, because I've looted the annex and everything else, so let's just go. Oh yeah, the Xanthus stuff, because I defeated the invading spirit. Wow. This place was actually pretty cool, very interesting. Lockup of the gods, ancient stuff, it's neat. Here we go. Be funny if someone just pushes you off, like, go! Whee! Oh, God! Alright, back in Inner Londo. Oh, poop! All of the Guardians are here again. Alright, these guys are something to be feared because they're quite powerful, so I'm gonna make it back to the bonfire if I can and rest at it. Oh dear. Killing all these painting guardians isn't the worst idea because they do give a fair amount of souls. And I can make that life hunt scythe, which is exactly what I want to do. Oh, aren't you clever? You can dodge basic attacks, and I can miss basic attacks. No! Ah! So I guess there's one more thing to talk about really quickly, and that is the multiplayer aspect of the game. Multiplayer is a bit weird. It's technically always... You're always in a semi-multiplayer mode. As odd as that sounds... Balls, they killed me! As odd as that sounds. Because, It's strange. But essentially, you are connected to everyone else. You'll occasionally see these blue phantoms in the world. These blue phantoms will appear and disappear. You can't interact with them in any way, but those are other players playing alongside you at the same time. I'm not losing 30,000 souls. You'll see a few other things like the orange signs on the ground, which are, again, something from Demon Souls. You can write on the ground, write messages, and you can read other people's messages. They'll give you tips. Sometimes they're lies, a lot of times they're tips. You can rate them up and down, and things like that. So you'll be seeing things like, essentially things like, you know, be wary of blank and things like that. Oh, poop. Really? Really? Ugh. Usually I spawn in that bonfire down there, so I don't have to worry about this, but am I really gonna have to go all the way through there? Maybe I could jump that? I don't know, but I really don't want to lose those souls. Here's an example of a message. There's a message over here that someone has written. What does it say? Be wary of miscreant. Yeah, because there's originally a mini-boss gargoyle here. And there are all kinds of messages like that. Also, if you're in human form, you can be invaded at random points by other players. They kill you, they get humanity and some souls, you kill them, you get a bunch of souls. You can join various covenants that actually involve PvP. The Warrior of Sunlight Covenant mostly involves co-op. You can summon blue and gold phantoms to help you out and actually co-op through the game, which is awesome. Forest Hunter Covenant, that's another good one that involves mostly things like... oh, poop. Things like getting... well, it's kind of difficult to explain. You defeat invaders. Gravelord Covenant involves getting people to invade you and killing them, and so on and so forth. Alright, let's see what we can do here. Here we go. That Ring of Sacrifice will break if I die, thus keeping me alive. And that's a good decision because I died. Well, not keeping me alive, but making sure I don't lose that other bloodstain of souls. I'm gonna have to go the long way around, huh? Ugh, crap. Alright, whatever. I'll make my way over there, and I'm gonna make that life hunt scythe. Anyway, this, my friends, has been Dark Souls. Dark Souls Prepare to Die edition, nonetheless. Very, very good game, I've got to say. It's extremely fun. There's a lot to it. You're going to be exploring this very interesting world with very interesting lore, and more than likely getting absolutely lost in the stories that can be told just by observing people, by observing places, by looking at the items that you get and reading what they have to say. So yeah, it's an incredibly interesting game. Hopefully Dark Souls 2 is going to be even better in terms of the port, because it's supposedly leading on PC as its development platform, which is an extremely good bit of news. That's good for everyone, even console players, and I very much hope that, well, that stays the case. This has been a fairly in-depth look at Dark Souls Prepare to Die for PC, and I'll see you guys next time. Thanks for watching. And remember, don't die like a bitch.